Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Wealth Warriors. Have we got a show for you? I am so enthusiastic and truly excited. I want to let you know that we have a guest speaker. We also are welcoming back a co-host. But before we do that, let me share with you what Wealth Warriors is about and the topic of the day. Wealth Warriors are people that are fighting for their family's financial future. We want not only for ourselves, but we want legacies to follow us so that 20, 30, 40 years from now, or possibly when we're gone, we know that our family is taken care of. In fact, you probably know that there's something biblical in that sentence, don't you? Our mission, 100,000 families around the world that will create wealth. And that's called a movement. And guess what? There is sufficient room for 100,000 of us to be wealthy. This project, 60 months, we started actually this month because we've hit one of the nuggets. It's nugget number 3, and that is real estate. And that is what allows us to bring our guest in today. And of course, as you know, Barrett Matthews is he's an institution on this show, and I'm so enthusiastic to have him with us. So I'm going to allow each person to introduce themselves, and then we are going to move right into content. So, co-host, please introduce yourself and say a short good morning to our audience.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am thrilled and excited to be here. As you know, as Brent said, I'm a staple with the show now, and I hope that everyone is gaining what they need to gain and implementing what they need to gain. And we have a fantastic guest today, and I'm just excited to be here, and I'm hoping that everyone gets a lot out of it. As you know, my company is E2E Systems, where we work with you as moving from employee to entrepreneur, and I just hope that everyone gets what they need to from the content today and puts it to action.
I appreciate that, Barrett. Thank you so much. And guest speaker of the day, please introduce yourself to our audience and tell them just slightly what it is that you do, just slightly, because we're going to expand on it.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Trudy Finlayson. I am a real estate and mortgage advisor, also a real estate investor myself, and I assist people in overcoming the 3 major obstacles to home ownership and creating wealth. And I am so excited to be here, and thank you for having me, Brent.
You, my dear, are so incredibly welcome, so incredibly welcome. You know, what we want to talk about today is a staple in our financial future, a staple. And I like that word. We can call it a staple, we can call it a pillar, we can call it a key. What we're talking about is 12 of them. And so we're going to open up with a few key items. For example, we're going to be talking about mindset. We're going to be talking about actual investment, because this year, 2015, you will be purchasing real estate, whether we do it in a group after we've had a boot camp, or whether you do it individually, whether you want to spread the risk out, or whether you are just willing to do it solo. But we're going to hit it all. So we're going to start with, what is the mindset of a real estate investor? And I'm going to ask Trudy to go ahead and elaborate on that, because remember, what we said we were going to do is bring in SMEs, subject matter experts that can help you. And like Trudy and like Barrett, I am also a real estate investor. And fortunately, our family has accumulated properties so that we can pass it on to the next generation. And in fact, we are just putting together the family trust to ensure that that actually happens, creating wealth generation to generation. I am a first generation wealth baby, and I'll imagine many of you are as well. So before we have Trudy get started, I want everybody to go up onto our page, our exclusive, elusive Facebook page, Wealth Warriors. Introduce yourselves and tell us your name, where you're from, and if you have a profession or you have a service, something of that nature that you can share with our Wealth Warriors, I want you to go up and share that with them. So do it now. Let's get those fingers moving. Why? Because we know that's what energizes us. And by the way, if you're a wealth warrior, if you are a first generation wealth baby, then I want you to do hashtag first generation wealth baby. Let's get this party started. Fantastic. Now, while you are doing that, I would like for Trudy to get underway. Trudy, again, please tell everybody your name and then talk about the mindset of a real estate investor. Would you please? Whether that's residential or commercial, what is the mindset of a real estate investor?
Well, again, I'm Trudy Finlayson, and the mindset of a real estate investor has to be a person that knows how to take the emotion out. I often tell people, the numbers don't lie. The math doesn't lie. People may lie, but the math doesn't lie. So you have to take the emotions out of it. You have to be able to do your due diligence, your analysis to make sure this thing really makes sense. Because it's not about just buying something because it's pretty. It's about appreciation. It's about cash flow, and it's about yield. And mindset is key to success in business, in real estate, and in investing. Because it's really about it being an intellectual sport. And you know what? If we're going to win the game, we got to know the rules. We got to know how to compute and do the math. And then we got to know how to take advantage of it. And, we got to put the emotions to side and make sure we're making informed decisions that are going to benefit us in the long run.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Barrett. Go right ahead. I just, when I heard that statement about intellectual sport, I just, whoa, wait a second. But you know what, Barrett, go right ahead, and I'll come back to that statement. Go right ahead.
Well, I just wanted to ask, when you're talking about mindset, what would you say stops most people from investing in real estate? Is it their mindset, or is it monetary? What would you say that the biggest blockage is on that?
It is mindset, because it's not about resources, but your resourcefulness. And so I would say one of the biggest obstacles is fear. How do you overcome fear? You got to eat it. You got to equip yourself with the relevant knowledge that you need so you can be empowered to take action. That's the A of the E. But you don't want to take any kind of action. You want to take strategic action. So often I see people, well, I got to get my business cards, and, I got to do this. And they're not doing one of the main things they need to do, which is pick up the phone. Okay, make some phone calls. Yeah. Do something that's going to push you closer to that goal. And then the T is team. On your team, you need mentors. You need a community of like-minded people. You need to have that talent, people who you can trust, who know what they're doing. I often tell people, why are you taking advice from somebody that's broke if you want to be wealthy? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to put anybody down. But, Uncle Bob, who has never bought a home, doesn't know anything about real estate, but yet he's going to tell me, and put that fear. So we got to overcome the fear by eating it, empowering ourselves with knowledge, relevant knowledge, the right data. And then we got to take action. And in part of taking that action, we got to make sure that we have the right team in place. Because when we do that, fear is nothing. And we can do what it is that we want to do.
I love it. Eat it.
Eat it. That's right. Eat it.
I appreciate that, because you're right. Fear is a 4-letter word, and it's one that we create ourselves. We go into a dark room and suddenly there's a boogeyman and monsters all in the room, and guess what? Flip the light on and there is nothing but an empty room. So I love that, Trudy. That is so poignant and right on. You know what? You spoke about an intellectual game, and that always, from the time you and I first spoke, that always, it always intrigued me. What do you mean by money is an intellectual game?
Well, what I mean by that is that you can't get your emotions involved in it. And Brent, I also do financial wellness coaching for women and men. Sometimes we do things based off of our emotions. Husband acting up, let me go shopping. This, or because the latest person does that. So we can be emotionally moved. I mean, and men too. They want to have the latest this, or they want to have a Land Cruiser and a Land Rover, and they got a landlord. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Come on now. Can I keep it real? Can I just be real? You got a Land Rover, you got a Land Cruiser, and you got a landlord. You know, and look, I am a landlord, and I'm cha-chinging all the way to the bank, but I want to help other people do that because we're blessed to be a blessing. It's not just about me, my four, and no more, but it's about us as a community being able to leave that legacy of wealth, being able to have an inheritance that our children's children can take advantage of. And last I looked, Brett, they weren't making any more earth. You know, that's it. People are going to always need a place to live, and real estate is one of the only investments you can live in.
True that. Absolutely true that. You know, and hey, Barrett, at any time, I know you've got a question or two. Why don't I let you go right ahead, and then I'm going to come back to one that I have.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
All righty. You know, a couple of things come to mind, Trudy, as far as I'm concerned. One is reading about real estate. I heard you say a team, and I really, really appreciated that. But also reading. One of the things that I have found is that people oftentimes, this is an investment. It is a staple in your financial future. And far often, I've heard people just jump in. They don't read about anything. In fact, yesterday, my mom and I were talking about a young lady we know that says that she's going to close in a couple of weeks, and no, actually, I'm sorry, wrong about that. She was planning to close next week, and she says the person that she's buying the property from says, well, I'll need a couple of weeks to move. And I was astonished. I said, wait a minute, let me understand this. You're going to close, give her the money, and you've got to wait a couple of weeks? Did you ever read anything? And she said, no. Talk to me about reading and getting prepped to make those acquisitions, would you please?
You know, the best investment you can make is an investment in your knowledge of what you're doing. People are destroyed, they're taken advantage of because of a lack of knowledge. And it doesn't mean that you're not a bright person. The reason why I'm in the industry now doing real estate and mortgages is because when I was trying to buy my first home, I lost $5,000. And I worked in aerospace. So it wasn't like I was, you know, just somebody that didn't know anything. But I didn't have knowledge about that. And you know what? That's what got me into this industry. I said, never again. I'm going to read. I'm going to take the courses. I'm going to invest in myself. And that's what I mean about business is an intellectual sport. You just can't have somebody spit everything out to you and believe everything that you see on a late night TV show about, oh, you know, you can make millions and do nothing. I'm just going to bust that bubble right now. It doesn't happen like that. It really does not. And if you believe that, you know, then you're just an accident waiting to happen. But we're greater than that. We're more powerful than that. We can read. We can learn. They have real estate investment clubs. Yeah. You can go to the library, check out a book, free, okay? Invest in yourself. Get the knowledge, get the team. You know, you have so many free resources that are out there. And then you have mentors, people like, not just me, yourself, Brett, who we mentor and we coach people and we help them so that you don't have to go through the same thing that we went through. You don't have to, you know, fall down and scrape your knees like I did, but to be able to have someone that's in your corner, going to help you, going to guide you, and hold your hand step by step through the way. Not do the work for you. Let me make that absolutely clear. You don't work, you don't eat. You don't take the profit, okay?
I love it.
Oh my goodness, you are so correct about that. Let's talk about it. We've established all the ground rules. We've said we've got a support team around us. We've got an attorney. We've got maybe a financial consultant, or at least we've got a mortgage broker. We have got the tenacity, the will to make this happen. Next step is now we're deciding what kind of property, because today we're going to take you from beginner, from Genesis to Revelation on this journey. So Trudy, talk to us about those first couple of pieces of property. I'm a proponent that believes, no, we don't buy the single family house yet. We haven't earned that. We need income property so that we've got some leverage and utilize that leverage to at some point get that personal, that single family house. So talk to us about that, would you?
You know, one of the things that I explain to people who are yet to purchase a home and they're a first-time home buyer is that Uncle Sam will partner with you to buy investment property. And they go, what? I go, yeah. FHA will finance you 3.5% down to buy a up to a 4-unit dwelling. Now, if you're smart, if you do your due diligence and you do the cost analysis, you can have it whereas the other 3 are going to be paying for where you're living. And if you do it right, then you have to stay there for 6 months, up to a year. Then you can branch out from that and buy, whether you want to buy another fourplex or whether you want to buy your own personal property. That's a strategy that I'm doing with my 25-year-old daughter. Is that she's like, well, Mom, she's real comfortable living here, and I says, no, you're gonna buy a fourplex because it's all about cash flow. It's about appreciation, and some song that I hear, it's all about the base. I'm like, no, it's all about the cash flow, the cash flow, the cash flow. It ain't all about that base. It's all about cash flow, educating yourself, having that knowledge, and really it's the mindset to know I can do all things. It's not just a quote that I say, but it's something that I'm going to do, and that I can do all things. Study to show yourself approved. Get the books. Do what it takes. Stop listening to every and anybody. Get insightful. And do some things. You don't have to go along. You can form a club. You can go into it together. I mean, there are so many ways. Brent, it's not about your lack of resources. I help my clients overcome the 3 major reasons why people cannot buy real estate. Number 1 is misinformation.
Okay.
Yours
is a little different than mine, but keep going, keep going. I love it. Go ahead.
And then when we talk about lack of resources, it's really in their mind because money and credit, because those things can be worked on. Like I said, there's so many programs out there where 3.5% down and you can own a fourplex. Come on, where you gonna get a deal like that? The other thing is what a lot of people they lack is taking that action.
Mm-hmm.
True that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Taking that action. I do free, I call them the Savvy Home Buyer or the Savvy Investor workshops. And, a lot of women are coming out, but you'd be amazed at the people that, and they're in the community. I do a lot of volunteer work in the community because I believe that as we're blessed, we should be a blessing.
Absolutely. Hold that thought for just a moment, Trudy. You brought up something, having been a mortgage broker for 10 years, we would call it cash, credit, and character.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about cash, you heard Trudy say 3.5% down, and you're saying, well, I don't even have that. Well, how about we decide that we might do it as a family initiative and create a family dynasty, or we might decide that we're going to go into this with a few folks. You've got 1,000, I've got 1,000, this one's got 1,000, or we've got 1,500, or whatever that number is, but we have something to bring to the table. It's not the whole 3.5%, but we've got a portion, and each person comes to the table. Now, that does mean that we're talking about agreements. So remember when we talked about the team and we said the attorney, we're going to need that, but there is a way to get cash. And then it's credit. And in fact, that is another staple in when we talk about the 12 keys. That is one of the keys. But we're talking about our credit, and then we're talking about character. What is the character? The character is about who you are. It's about your work ethic. Have you been working for the past couple of years? How do you save money? Do you save anything? What types of things that you do that make you a good credit risk? And let me roll back to credit one more time and say this, that credit there are times when our credit is marred. Well, we can do some repair or some correction on that credit. So please don't let credit stop you from being in the game, but be responsible about it. If there are issues that need to be cleaned up and resolved, then get that person on your team as well. And right now we're developing a team. We're developing teams of individuals that are going to help you so that you can, in fact, be pivotal at the game. And so to that end, there's no excuse. No more excuses are on the table for you. Would you agree with me on that one, Barrett?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, the thing is that that I'm hearing over and over again is educating yourself and plugging in. One of the things, I did some investment when I was in Atlanta years ago, and first thing I did is I got a mentor. I learned under a gentleman by the name of Don DeRosa. I don't know if you've heard of him, but Don DeRosa was one of the eminent gurus in real estate in Atlanta, and I took like 3 of his classes. And it's, yes, you have to pay for the classes, but if you take what you learn and implement it, you get more than your money back. And I think a lot of times you'll find that a lot of mentors, a lot of coaches, they don't mind giving you information. I know a lot of people think, wow, this guy's a millionaire and he's giving this information freely. A lot of them don't mind. They don't see you as competition, for one, because there's so many properties to go around. But the other thing is they know most people won't use the information. They won't do anything. They won't, as Trudy said, they won't take action. And that's the problem, that so many people, I mean, how many people have bought a Carlton Sheets set and set it up on a shelf somewhere and never done anything with it? So what I'm hearing is that a lot of people need to take action. And Trudy, I do want to ask you on that, what is it that, do you implement anything to help them as far as taking that first step?
Yes, I do. And I just want to add, 3.5%, that there are programs that will actually give you the down payment and help you with the closing costs. So, there is really no excuse. We have access programs, we have CHDAP programs, and that's why, it's not really about your resources, because there are people like me. I'm a licensed realtor and I'm a licensed mortgage banker. I started off doing mortgage banking in 1986, so I'm aging myself, but that's okay. And the thing about that is that there are, from a first step, what I would always tell everybody to do is go to myfico.com, pull your credit. Now, I know one of the pillars is credit. We're going to be talking about that probably next month, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in there, but you need to know where you are so that you can determine where you want to get. Because the better your credit, the lower your interest rate, which means the lower your monthly payments is going to be. And instead of you out there trying to fight for a loan, you have people fighting to give you a loan. So your credit, that FICO score, those 3 little digits, they have a huge impact. So you need to know where you are. I have a free report that I give to people who are thinking about being a homeowner, and you can shoot me out an email. We'll send that later, that I will just send to you. So the first thing is, you need to educate yourself. Educate yourself about what it takes to own a home. Like I said, that misinformation, people thinking, oh, well, you got to have this much money down, you have to have perfect credit. Well, I've been doing this since 1986, and now they have really relaxed the underwriters in terms of the people that they are allowing and approving for loans. But the higher your FICO score, the better your rate's going to be, which means the better your terms and the lower your interest rate and monthly payments are going to be. So the first step is educate yourself. Like I said, you got to eat it. Educate yourself. Equip yourself with the knowledge necessary. There are too many resources free on the internet. People who do free homeowner classes. Every city has it. There are nonprofits throughout the United States that have, first-time homeowner classes, first-time investor classes. The only investment is your time. It's your time.
Trudy, you know what? I appreciate that. We're going to do 2 things. First and foremost, thank you. I'm going to tell you, audience, if you haven't gotten a nugget today, then I don't know what else to say, because truly what I should be seeing is Wealth Nugget, and tell us what the nugget is that you got this morning, because this has been awesome. We now know there is something called available money. I never say anything is free, but available money. What I'd like you to do right now, before we move to the next segment, is I want you to go up and invite somebody on here. Invite people to this broadcast, because there is serious stuff happening here. We're talking about creating wealth. We're talking about an incredible staple that is real estate that propels wealth, and in a few moments we're going to tell you why that propels wealth. But first and foremost, I want you to go up and I want you to invite somebody to the show. Go up on there and hit the Facebook button and invite somebody on here. Let them know that it's happening right here this morning. We got a full 36 more minutes to share information with you. Hope you have the pen and paper and you are actually taking notes and nuggets, because guess what? I've gotten some nuggets this morning. I thought a lot of those programs had dissipated, but they haven't. FHA, able to give you money. There are other entities able to give you money. Now, most people would say, hey, that's for first-time home buyers. Well, guess what? We're going to go beyond the first-time home buyers, and now we're going to talk about more of the investment side so that we're hitting everybody here. And you didn't know this, but Barrett, I'm going to take him into this conversation, and he actually is also an adjuster, a public adjuster, and I'm going to make sure that he shares a few of those pieces of information, because once you own it, you want to keep it, because we said generational wealth, passing it on from generation to generation. So right now, go on up. Tell us what nuggets you are getting from what you're hearing this morning. And don't be afraid. I want you to go up to the Wealth Warrior page, the exclusive, elusive Wealth Warrior page, and share with us. I know you're seeing us because I see the scenes. I see you're saying that you like the show, and that's great. But let us hear from you personally. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Wealth Warriors Nuggets. While everybody is doing that, before we hit the flash mob, Trudy, one of the things that I wanted to share with people is about commercial property. And in this case, we're talking about residential commercial, that from the 4 units to the 6 units. I want to talk a little bit about what makes that exciting, and then I'm going to share a little story with you and have you weigh in on that. But talk to us about 4 units to 6 units, because now we've moved on from the standard residential and we're actually going into the commercial side where we are going to need a different type of mortgage. So talk to us about that.
Well, when you're talking about commercial real estate, the down payment required is going to be more, anywhere from 20 to 40%. Again, it's going to be based on the caliber of either one individual, or you can form an LLC. And, you know, there are different ramifications, and that's what I'm talking about, you know, equipping yourself with the knowledge so you'll know, how I should take ownership of this property. You know, I heard you talk about the family trust. That's one way. Make sure you have a very huge limited liability policy. I'm sure that Barrett would agree with that, because that can help you. But when you're doing those, and there is a comeback in that, because right now in certain parts of the United States, and that's what I always tell people, you know, real estate's very local, but for the most part, commercial real estate still hasn't come back from the depressed prices that we had from when we had that mortgage meltdown. So when you have commercial real estate, typically you're either talking about apartments, multi-unit apartments, or that strip mall. And one of the advantages with that is that most of the time you're going to have better cash flow. You're going to have better appreciation. You have what we call triple net leases that your major companies will go into, whereas they're paying the taxes, they're paying everything. You don't get that in a residential home or something like that you're doing. There's still some things, if you have tenants or renters, that you have to do. So, you know, you're talking in a whole different caliber, but it is doable. You say, well, 40%, I don't have 40%. Maybe you individually, but a group together in LLC, coming together to do something very big in the community. Let's take back these distressed properties, these strip malls that, you know, let's do something big together.
I got a question for you right quick, and Barrett, I know you want to chime in. Trudy, what about if in that 40%, could the seller take back some paper? Are they still allowing that? Because there was a point in time when they weren't allowing the seller to take back. But of that 40%, 20% down, me, you, Barrett, another person, we pool our money together, we come up with 20%. The seller takes back 20%, and we're talking about a 60% loan to value. Speak to that, and then Barrett, I know you want to chime in.
There's all kind of creative ways to do it. Now, when you're going to have financing through the bank, they're going to want to see a certain portion down, and really it's going to depend upon the strength of either the LLC, the assets that they're seeing, because they're going to review it. They're going to do their due diligence. But see, you have some places where, just like you said, where you may know the owner of the strip mall. I was reading in Forbes magazine about 2 brothers, I believe it was in Iowa, it was in farmland, and what they did, and they knew the woman that owned, it was called, you know, Main Street. They knew her, and so she carried back all the paper. She just wanted out. How do you know? Maybe they're tired. Like I said, it's being creative, thinking outside the box, and you'll never know if you don't ask the question. You know,
true that. Absolutely true that.
Take that action. You know, when you're seeing some properties and you're doing your investigation, you know, you say, well, I don't have a lot of money, but you got some time. Go
Hello.
find out about the person. Go find out what do they really want. Maybe this person is willing to hold back the paper because you're going to give them 5 or 6% that their CD is not even earning 1% on. So you got to be
Point well
creative.
taken.
Think
I'm
outside
sorry.
of the box.
Didn't mean to interrupt you on that one. Point well taken. Actually, you brought me to another thought process. Barrett, you are a public adjuster. Tell folks what a public adjuster is, and I mean, you're seeing properties. Maybe somebody has decided that they're done with that property. Talk to me about, is there a possibility that you might see something that you could let somebody know about? So talk to us about that, because I'm looking at trying to think creative. As Trudy said, get out of the box. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm a public adjuster. Most people have never heard of public adjusters before. And to be honest with you, the profession has been around for over 130 years. Most people have just never heard of it. What we do, we are advocates for the policyholder versus the insurance company. So if you have any damage to your property, what a public adjuster will do is represent you versus the insurance company. It's no different than having your own representation in a legal settlement, where we always say don't go without representation in an insurance settlement. But a lot of times I work with real estate investors who have damage to their properties, and they may want to do something to the property. They may want to get rid of the property. Well, what better way to get rid of it than to bring up the value? If you can get the property fixed up and it doesn't have to come out of your pocket, then why not do that and get that taken care of? Because a lot of investors are taught by something like, as we talked about, miseducation that Trudy mentioned. They're taught always put that money aside in an account in case you have to fix up your house. Well, what the heck are you paying insurance for? That's what you're paying the insurance for, to fix up that house if something happens and you have a claim there. Go ahead and use that money because you've been paying that premium all the time, but most people never even look at their policy. So what we do is teach them that you can get that money without having to come out of your pocket. Keep that money in your account in case there's something minor that you need to take care of that can't be claimed. But that's what we teach people. So as investors, I work with investors. I've spoken at a lot of investment seminars. A lot of people have these properties. They have policies. They never read them. What my company does, we give you a free review of your policy so that you'll know what you're paying for, give you recommendations, because a lot of investors have insurance. They have no idea if they have the right coverages. So we make sure they have the right coverages, and then if something were to happen, we represent them in that situation to make sure they can have money to put towards that fixing that house and bringing up the value for themselves.
Well, Barrett, so potentially I could collaborate with a public adjuster who might see property from time to time, and I could say to him, this is what I'm in fact looking for. If you come across this, would you introduce me to that person? Would there be a problem with ethically with you being able to do that?
Well, the main thing I want to do, we're not doing it just to look for damage for to bring that up. What I want to do is first educate you on what's going on with your policy and with your property. What I do will give you a free inspection either way. So in the inspection, what I'm looking for is definitely something to show if you were owed any money or not. Now, how you use that money as far as fixing up the house and what you do with the property. Some people want to fix it up just so they can put another tenant in it. Some people want to fix it up because like I said, they want to sell the property. So what I would say is partner with a public adjuster just so you have the information and the education. And as we talked about, you have to educate yourself and build a team of people. A public adjuster would be an integral part of that team, because you want to have people around you who can help your bottom line when it comes down to it.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Trudy, I'm going to hit you with something, and then let's talk about that creativity. And then we're going to do a flash mob in a few moments. But I remember a time when I took a piece of property. I had a commercial piece of property, and what I did was I looked at the equity in that property. Someone had shared with me that there was a property in another city that was up for sale and I should grab it. I talked to my investor because I didn't use a lender, a conventional lender at the time. I used oh my goodness, I can't think of it right now, but it'll come to me. Anyway, I used another type of financing, and I was able to leverage. I put a proposal into them and I said, I'd like to leverage this piece of property to buy another piece of property and put a blanket mortgage. So now it was risky. It meant that both properties, if something happened, if I lost one, I lost both. But I was willing to do that because I saw an opportunity to start to build and create more. So tell me what you think of utilizing that methodology so that you can grow your wealth. So talk to me, will you please?
You know, if you've done your due diligence and you've done an analysis and you see where the cash flow is going to be, then it can be very wise to do that. People do it all the time. They have a lot of equity in their home that's laying there just basically untapped. So that's a resource that you have that you're not even using. Now, I am not a proponent of taking money out of your home and going to buy a boat and a car or, you know, all of this kind of stuff. So let me just
Thank you for that statement. Quick story. I had an individual who regrettably was not able to purchase that property at that time and took the money and decided, well, heck, I can't buy the property. So I said, but hold on, work with me. Things are going to get better. We didn't get this one. We'll get the next one. Came across somebody in construction who then said, Brent, you would not believe this deal. I'm not able to do it. Do you know anybody? Go back to that person. That person had bought, what, a 56-inch color TV and a car. I had no words. Go on, Trudy. I just had to put that one out there because I was just like.
I see that all the time. And see, you want to purchase assets that are going to appreciate, not depreciate the minute you take it out the store, the minute it goes out off the car lot. And that's what I'm talking about, mindset. You know, what kind of mindset do you have? I remember, you know, in the Christian world, because I'm also a minister, I do praise and worship and all of that, and everybody was talking about St. John. Now, I went in there and I priced the St. John. I'm like, look, I'm not paying $800 for a shirt. I'll take that $800, put it to $8,000, and I'll go buy a house with it. So I'm not interested in labels and different things like that. You know, my kids, and I know this, you know, isn't a Christian show, but yeah, I'm like, look, the sweetest name I know is Jesus. After that is Trudy. I don't care about that. You know, your value and your self-esteem doesn't come from the label that you wear, but on what you actually have on the inside of you. And we got to be smart. You know, we just can't be consumers and follow the hype of Madison Avenue. You know, we're like blind sheep. No, we got to have a plan. What's your plan? What kind of legacy are you going to leave for your children? And then how are you going to do it? You know, it's not difficult, but you got to start somewhere. And a lot of people will plan their vacation more so than they will plan their life. Where am I going to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What kind of retirement am I going to have? And see, these are the things when I'm talking about that mindset, equipping ourselves and thinking. These are the things that we have to start thinking about. Are you doing what's best for you, or are you doing what's best for Madison Avenue or Wall Street?
That is without a doubt a fact, and that's what is pitiable is we've got opportunities right here on the table. One thing that you heard was Trudy said commercial property hasn't come back to its zenith in terms of pricing. So that means that there are possibilities for you to acquire property. There are possibilities for deals to be acquired. We have the power. We've talked about the fact that you can come together as a group of trusted individuals with an attorney, somebody to handle the legal aspect of that so we know what we are. That's one. Secondly, we can leverage property. And I want to go on and expand on that story just a little bit more to talk about how we can leverage. There are all types of lenders. There are banks. There are mortgage lenders. There are hard money lenders. There are semi-hard money lenders.
Private.
So, I'm sorry.
I love those, the private now.
Private lenders. And we're going to give you a few definitions of those as well. So we've hit the first-time home buyers. We've talked about investment, the 4 to 6 unit properties. Yes, it does require more money down, and sometimes you find private lenders that will do a higher an LTV, a leverage to ratio on that property. They'll do a higher leverage for you on that piece of property. So we want to make sure that we've hit all of those subject matters, and we're going to elevate the game in just a moment. But before we do, it is time for Flash Mob. What does that mean? That means I want everybody to go to their Twitter account, yeah, the Twitter account, and tell people what's happening here. Tell them who you are and that you are watching the Wealth Warriors. And what are we doing? We are committed to wealth, and we are talking about wealth nugget number 3, and that is real estate. As we are building, we're talking about the third key, the third pillar. So on the count of 5, I want everybody to go to Twitter. You know what you need? Your name. You need the fact that you are on this broadcast, and invite people in. Are we ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flash mob Twitter. Absolutely. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to share the wealth. That's how we grow. We share information because there's enough room out there for everybody. Contrary to popular belief, as Trudy said, we ain't building no more earth, but there's still enough earth to purchase and enough earth to put buildings on the property. And guess what? Everything doesn't have to be stick built. There is stick built, there is prefab. Prefab is making a comeback, or modular is making a comeback. How do I know this? There's one that's being built right next door, and it's up and running. The gentleman, not only did he see the property, but he saw the land mass that was affiliated with the property. He then went and checked out, went to the registry. He also went to City Hall. He checked to find out, the building department, could he build something else? So he has a twofer there. He bought the property, and now he's building another piece of property. So he's going to have he's got a 3-family. He's going to have a 2-family. He's got 5 units in total between those 2 buildings. Mm-hmm. Smart move, very smart move. Yes. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the next part to this story, Trudy. Because as I shared, I had the commercial piece of property that I had a business in, the mortgage company in. Mm-hmm. I leveraged that to buy a landmass that actually had 2 buildings on it, and then across the street was a strip mall. And I'll tell you something, in my wildest imagination, I never thought that I would go ahead and do something like that. But I went and negotiated. Again, I went back to my hard money lender and said, guess what? Another piece. 3 pieces of property under a blanket mortgage. The loan to value worked. The property had all the bells and whistles. Investigated to make sure that I wasn't getting blindsided by things like taxes that were overdue, and was able to structure that deal. So talk to us about that kind of leveraging, because now we're elevating the game.
You know, a lot of people, that's called a wraparound mortgage because it's wrapped around more than one piece of property, and that's one way to do it. What I like is private investors, and you know, that's what I do. And what's the difference between your private investors and your hard money investors? And I like the private investors because these are people that have money. Maybe the money is just sitting there and they're tired of it being in that CD earning less than 1%. But you got to have a track record, because come on, you got to ask yourself, would I lend money to me? Okay, that aside, now we got to say, so, you know.
Oh, wait, you know that was wrong. You know, but you kept it real. You kept it real.
You know what? I don't know how to do anything but to keep it real. And even though you may say, no, I wouldn't lend money to me right now doesn't mean never. And that's what I mean about getting yourself in position, getting yourself, doing the things that you need to do to get that credit, that FICO score restored, doing the things that you need, being faithful with what you have. You talked about the 3 C's of mortgage lending, which, you know, character. And one reason why a lot of people never start. I believe it still is going to go back to that fear, because what you did was bold, that was adventurous, and you haven't told me the end of the story, so I'm hoping that it all worked out. But what I'm saying is, that creativity. There are a lot of people and that have money sitting in CDs, and my husband and I are doing a flip, and it was seller financing. People are just amazed at how we did it, but you know what? I said in my mind, because we already had investment properties rental, I said, you know what? I want to flip, looking at HGTV, flip this house and all of that. I said it out my mouth. Then when the opportunity came, I presented it. It looked, kind of crazy. I'm not going to, lie and say that because everybody goes, how did that happen? But I stepped out on my faith, and it was my character, because I had worked with this person. They knew the kind of person that I was. I set it up structurally with the contracts that it was a win-win for them and also a win-win for me. So those are the things that, you want to be able to do. Like I said, it's not about how much money you have right now. It's not about your resources, but your resourcefulness and your willingness to take the time to learn and grow, to invest in yourself. Stop shucking and jiving. Stop wishing. Hope is not a strategy. Lady, a man is not a financial plan.
I love it. Let's take a look at. Did she hit it, Barrett, or what? Did she?
Oh, she hit it.
You know what, Trudy? The end of the story was a good story. The end of the story is having the property, being a strip mall owner, having commercial property, and knowing that I'm leveraging for the next generation. Like I said, first generation wealth, baby, although I'll tell you what, I came from a family that believes in having property, and it made sense, so I followed that. But the reality is it's also about the mindset, because we believed in making sure we had a home so that we were the landlords, and therefore we were able to have that piece of property. But then it got expanded. The picture got expanded. With that being said, we're now at the investor stage of our growth in wealth. Typically, for, let's say, an investor at this point in time, why would real estate be such a pivotal piece of that 12 steps or the 12 pillars of wealth, in your opinion? Please share that with our audience, Trudy.
What you find, most wealthy people do have real estate as a portion of their portfolio, because like I said, people are going to always need shelter. It's going to appreciate. It may go down, but it's going to come back up. And why? Because people will always need a place to live. So I think that real estate is a very valuable part of it, because a lot of times real estate appreciates much, much greater than any other asset that you can invest in. And I can speak for myself. My home, I bought my home in 1991, and I think it was like $250. Now, one time it went up real crazy, $700,000, but now it's at $600,000. And so while I'm living in my home, I'm actually gaining appreciation, gaining equity. Plus, I have the benefit of living here. So I think that if you're really going to be wise, you look at all the wealthy people, the Trumps of the world, they all have holdings in real estate. I'm not saying that's all they do, because I think business and real estate, and in case you didn't know it, you are a business. You're the CEO of YOU. So, you got to invest in yourself, in your knowledge, in your, grow as a person. You are so capable. There is nothing that you cannot do once you learn the skill. My mom used to always say, no such thing as can't. I teach my girls, you say can't yet. Put a yet on the end of it. But you got to see yourself there. You have to see yourself, first of all. You don't want to just go into probably going into commercial real estate when they're easier. Take those baby steps. Get a home. Get you a fourplex. Take advantage of the first-time homeowner funds that are there. And they even have funds now, Brent. You don't have to be a first-time homeowner. We have the Access program. You don't have to be a first-time homeowner. VA. I mean, if you're a vet, you should have.
Absolutely.
Wait. Let me preface that. If you're a vet with a job, okay, because you gotta have some money.
Yeah.
You gotta have a job.
Thank you very much. Yes, contrary to popular belief, you do have to have a job. I like something, all of what you said, you shared with us, Trudy. I wanted to come back to something that Barrett talked about, and he talked about the old programs that we used to see, like the Carlton Sheets and things of that nature. I'm going to tell you something. One of the things I remember when I got that box, the box was huge because we were still, was it huge, Barrett, or not?
It was always huge, and it sits on your shelf.
And that's exactly what it did. It sat on the shelf because you sat there going, holy smokes, what in the world? And now we have so many more things. You've got YouTube to watch. So again, no excuses.
That's right.
I want to put something in front of you, and then we're going to do the wind down. But I want to put the fact that Trudy talked about that family. And Trudy, please tell everybody what part of the country you're from.
I am from the happiest place on earth, sunny Southern California.
I'm telling you, because I'll tell you, you can always tell where people are from based on some of the things they say. Over here on the East Coast, and notice this, East meets West. On the East Coast, we would say a four-family. On the West Coast, you say a fourplex. I love it. And so when I heard that, I went, uh-oh. I got to tell the audience, because some folks might be going, well, what's a fourplex? 4 units. And what we're sharing with you is in that portfolio, because it is a portfolio. Wealth creates a portfolio. So a 4-unit in there. If there were 3 pieces of property that you would want to acquire, in fact, Trudy, if to getting that portfolio started, having a good edge, what would be the 3 pieces of property you would share with the audience that they would want to acquire?
I think the fourplex, and the reason why is because the financing on it is so great. If I had to start all over again, I wouldn't have bought a home first. I would have bought a fourplex. And the reason why is because FHA, you can't have more than one FHA loan. So, I'd have bought the fourplex first, had that cash flowing, then I would have bought my home. And it would have made sense, because if you have a beautiful house somewhere, you can't go and say, hey, I want to buy a fourplex and move in. They're like, no, we don't believe you, okay? You're not leaving me after that. So it's got to make sense. You know what I'm saying? But, there's I told you I was going to keep it real. Barrett, I see you laughing at me, and that's okay.
Yes, I am.
Real, relevant, so that you can make the right choice for you. That's what I always tell people. But I would say a fourplex. If I had to do it all over again, message to my younger self, fourplex first. I do like residential homes, because I like making an ugly house beautiful, transforming neighborhoods and communities and lives. I do love that. I mean, it's been proven that people who own homes, that they're wealthier than those that don't. I mean, there's so many statistics and reports that I could, share with you. The children, how their sense of value and their worth and their thinking. Because if you've always been a renter, then you probably will grow up with the renter mindset. But because my family were homeowners, and my mother bought a house as a single woman, Miss Naomi, so I knew that buying a home was definitely going to be something that I would do. So you want to do the fourplex, you want to do the house, and I know Brent, you've been talking about the strip malls. Those are very vital pieces, but I would do it in that order, and that reason why, because if you do the fourplex, FHA will help you. The financing is awesome. You're not going to get that kind of financing anywhere else. You can cash flow. If you want to get your own house, get your house. You can do other properties, and I'm a big proponent of what works for you may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for you. You got to do what you're passionate about. See, I like houses.
I appreciate that. That's interesting. Trudy loves houses. I like leveraging and buying other entities. I like commercial property, probably because I like working with tenants that are generally business owners. I'm looking at their cash flow, and it works. Not to say that residential doesn't, but I like what she said. Start with that 4-unit or that fourplex, so that you've got cash flow. So at the end of the month, there's actually you've paid the mortgage, you've paid the utilities. What were you gonna say, Barrett?
Cash is king.
Cash is still king. Contrary to popular belief, cash is still king. Although we always say you can never have as much cash as you have credit or access, but you've got to get it first. And so you heard it here on the Wealth Warriors channel, that you've got to get that first. So, suggestion, a 4-family. You might even choose to invest in another piece of property, a multiple unit. You might choose to invest in a 3-family and then purchase that home of your dream. Write out your plan. Don't always have the plan in the head. Write the plan out so that you can see yourself. All real estate investors write out or draft out a plan. Check your plan periodically. You might want to modify that based on a good deal. Remember this as we wind down. Team. You need to have a team. With team, you get more. Your team needs to consist of your financer, whether it is a private investor, a broker, a mortgage company, whatever the case may be. You need to have an attorney in that team. We now know a public adjuster is a smart entity to have in that team. We are going to have real estate professionals. Trudy has now been inducted into the Wealth Warrior faculty. So we have 4. That means we've got 4 teams that we are developing because we have 4 different professionals that will be able to help us as we build ourselves, as we build our wealth, because this year, 2015, you will purchase property. At a minimum, it is either a 4-family or a 3-family, but it is about a cash flow piece of property. Couple of things as we wrap up in the last 5 minutes. First and foremost, Trudy offered a free report for us. A free report for us. And what that means is if you want a free report, then I want you to get in contact with me at Brent, B-R-E-N-T, Harding, H-A-R-D-I-N-G, 617 at gmail.com. Send me your name, send me your email address so that I can put you in contact with one of our faculty. Namely, I will put you in contact with Trudy so that she can get a report to you. You now know there is a public adjuster on our faculty and somebody that will be with us on an oftentimes basis, and that is Barrett Matthews. If you want to have those kind of discussions, then I want you to communicate that so that we can make that happen. Also, we are offering for everyone that watches our broadcast, I am offering you a consultation, a no charge. Now, I know I do not use that word free because there's always a cost to something, but I'm offering you a no charge consultation. You are welcome to call me at area code 617. So I'm letting you know, personal cell phone 617-438-7949. You can make that call. Text me and let me know that you would like to arrange a time to have a no-charge consultation to discuss your wealth journey and where you're at and how we can plug you into the right resources so that you will be incredibly successful and you'll actually purchase a piece of property this year. I want to give both Barrett and Trudy an opportunity to have some final words before we wrap up. And Barrett, we got to start ladies first. So that being said, Trudy, please share with folks in about 30-45 seconds the last few words and how they can contact you.
Trudy Finlayson at gmail.com. Trudy, F as in Frank, INLAYSON at gmail.com. And I just want to say that you're greater than you have been led to believe. There is unlimited potential within you. So don't be afraid. Don't let fear hold you back. Just go ahead and eat it.
I love that. In fact, hashtag eat it. I love that. That is great, and I'm going to put that up. Hashtag eat it. Barrett, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank Trudy for joining us. And guys, if you want to become a real estate investor, if you're in the D.C. area, I'm doing an event next Saturday, which is May 2nd, and it's called Passion to Profits. So if your passion is to become a real estate investor, learn how to turn your dreams into a cash machine, learn how to double your revenue with less time. Come on out to Passion to Profits. You have to have a ticket. I have the tickets. You have to have a ticket. The tickets are $397 for the whole day, but for every Wealth Warrior, you got to inbox me on Facebook. For every Wealth Warrior, you get it for only $47.
Whoa! It pays to watch Wealth Warriors. Yay! I'm sorry, I couldn't resist, Barrett. Thank you.
No problem. I love your enthusiasm. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, this has been an awesome, awesome broadcast. I want to thank Trudy so much for being here, especially knowing what time she had to get up this morning to be on the show. We are enthusiastic to have her. And guess what? She's going to be back here again in May. That's right, in May. I want to thank Barrett for being a co-host this week. We really appreciate him. He's got a fan club right here on Wealth Warriors. So what's happening for next week? Next week we start nugget number 1, and that is credit. What does your credit look like? What scores do you need in order to qualify for the property that you want to qualify for? That's what we're going to be talking about next week. We're going to see Trudy at the end of the month because she's going to be with us for a credit broadcast, and we know we'll see Barrett at some point during the month of May. I want to thank everybody for being here. Go out and be amazing. That's what Trevor Otts always says to me, so I'm sharing that with you. Go out and be amazing today. Again, to my guests and my co-hosts, thank you, and we will see you the next time on Wealth Warriors. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.